Hey, I'm Derek with Aquanut Pool Care, and welcome back to another podcast. I have Rick and David here with me, and just going to give them a moment to introduce who they are and what they do. So go ahead and take it away.
I'm Rick Chafey with Red Rock Pools and Spas and Red Rock Contractors. We've got a design and build business that works out of the Phoenix market mostly. We work a little bit nationwide designing and consulting on the construction of swimming pools. I'm also involved in the education side of it as well as an instructor for a couple different providers of education to the pool industry. And then together, me and Dave have also put together with two other partners, Ask the Masters podcast and Facebook group, where we do a number of these type of things and talk about all the specifics of the different type of construction and pool issues and pool related issues.
My name is David Penton from flidDynamics Pool and Spa. We are a boutique pool builder out of the Southern California area, mostly Los Angeles and Orange County. We've been doing this. I came out of the service industry and grew into a construction company. We don't do too many pools, maybe 6 to 10 a year, but most of our projects are pretty complex. And we've been doing Ask the Masters for about a year, so we got only just a little bit of a head start on you, and it's a lot of fun. I love this space, and I'm excited to see it grow because there's definitely our podcast is pretty specialized, kind of looking at construction and design and engineering elements, and this one here we're kind of focusing on homeowners and all of that. So I think it's great. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. So yesterday I was having a conversation with Wayne from Taylor, and I told him the same thing I'm going to tell you guys. He can talk above my head as far as chemistry goes, so you guys can talk above my head as far as building pools go. So again, this is going towards homeowners, so I'll ask that we kind of keep it, base level stuff.
Sure.
So to start off, let's just kind of ease into this, and I'll start with you, Rick. What do you like to do for fun?
My current passion, which I'm hoping is going to withstand the test of time, is sailing. That's my new fun passion. So me and my wife have got ourselves in a position to be doing a reasonable amount of sailing when we can do it. Now remember, I live in Phoenix, so sailing out of Phoenix is a little bit rough. I usually have to fly somewhere to do my passion, but that's what I do the most of. I've got 4 children that are all adults now, so we've kind of starting to move on to doing our own thing out of the house and doing some stuff with them. The boat does drag them in at home on our speedboat too. So anything to do with water, whether it be building pools and working in the water industry or actually living on the water, is the goal. So someday you won't be able to find me is my goal. That's my future plan.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And I have 6 little ones at home, so our house is pretty busy. But my passion has been surfing. So it's funny to hear you. Water surrounds every element of my life too. So I grew up swimming, playing water polo, grew up boating, water skiing, and that as well. And then moved from the East Coast out to California, and boating in California is not that great unless you're sailing. There's not a lot of good water skiing on the ocean. So took up surfing and just loved it. I mean, it fell in love. It just fits with all of my passions. Water everywhere.
I have actually been sailing since I was a teenager.
Oh, wow.
I had my first little boat, a little dinghy single sail, when I was 15.
Wow.
And I've been sailing ever since on all kind of boat. I'm not a captain by any means, but I just love sailing. So that was awesome. I didn't know that
that's
about
very
you.
cool.
That's why I asked.
Well, I am not a captain yet, but I've done a ton of coursework and a ton of ASA stuff, and then we've chartered enough boat. We're working to keep chartering more boats. To be a captain takes actually a ton of time, recorded time, right? So we're working on that. So I'll do that at some point because I would be able to charter a boat and charge clients. We charter them with friends all the time, but we obviously, until you get into the fully licensed captain situation, you can't really insure yourself to manage that. So, but that's the long-term goal is that. So maybe we'll find ourselves on the water somewhere together someday.
Absolutely. David, I'm going to start with you. If you would be a superhero, what would you be and why?
I'll pick the easy one, Aquaman, because I would have loved to be able to breathe underwater and talk to animals. being under the water and diving and doing all of that. I mean, that's I just love that environment. So pretty easy.
Yeah.
I think something, as much as I like water, I think I'd want to be able to fly somehow. So I think I'd want to, and I don't think Batman to me is flying or Spider-Man. So I'd probably, I'd want to be the Man of Steel, I guess. So I could fly around, go where I want to go, be where I want to be, and I guess I could sail a boat after I flew to it. So I think that would all work out for me.
Yeah, that's the most.
How about you? What's your superhero?
My superhero is probably Iron Man.
Okay.
Simply because that guy has, he doesn't have any special like mutant things going on.
Oh, now we're mutants?
Well, anybody can that can fly, without any help or breathe underwater, definitely has superhuman skills. And the only thing that's superhuman about Iron Man is his brain, his ability to just figure stuff out.
Right.
And I just love that. I just love that aspect.
Can you share with us a little bit about who you are too, as we're going to co-brand this and put this out?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Okay, so in 2003, I got into the pool and spa industry, just cleaning pools. 2004, I got my CPO. That's a certified pool guy, basically, and I've maintained that. 2008, I opened up Aquanut Pool Care, and there's a whole backstory about how Aquanut came to be, and our logo and our mascot, Nutty. This is a coconut, and he even has a little bit of a backstory. But I started out in the Columbia area, SC, and then 2012. We moved to the Greenville area, SC, so that my wife could take care of her father. He was sick, a bunch of different things that would be too much detail to go into here. But we moved to Greenville, still running our Columbia business, and then we just started growing the Greenville market. It started off slow in 2012, with me being the new kid on the block in that market. But then we started growing a little bit faster, and then I started kind of consolidating the industry there, buying up other pool companies. It just started with a route, commercial route, and then I'm going to say acquired a residential route of about between 18 and 20 pools. And then 4 years ago, I bought a retail store of a very nice couple that was in their 80s, so they were done, and they're like, I need to get out of this, because they had been doing it for 32 years or 31 years or something like that. So my wife and I took that over, and she kind of said that I bought a business and gave her a job for Valentine's Day, which is pretty cool because I put her in the store running it, and the previous owners kind of helped us with the swap and the transition of the customers that have been going there for decades.
Right.
And it sounds like that's just a really cool, you kind of kept that mom and pop, husband and wife running a company. That's really cool. And from a construction perspective, you have your huge markets in the country. You have, obviously Southern California, Arizona, all of Florida, Texas. But it really seems like the Carolinas are kind of the next booming place for pools. I mean, it really seems like that whole little area right there, you skip from Florida up into the Carolinas, it just seems like that market is really exploding. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know what metrics that you guys use in your area, but we have about 500 pools going in every year in my area. And I don't know if that's a big number or a little number or...
I think for your area, I know like Metro Phoenix, that number would be tiny. We've got pool builders that build that many by themselves in my market, if you can believe that. So,
yeah.
Well, I know, no, but I mean that just one individual pool builder can do that many, or company can do that many in my market. So I don't know our number, but my guess is our number gets closer to, 8 to 10,000 pools in any given calendar year. So, but at the same time, Metro Phoenix is one of the largest metropolitan areas by size. Maricopa County is actually, I think, the largest county in the country by size. So that market is really about 16 cities that are tied together, contiguous, and so there's a big area there for that to happen.
In Southern California, I don't even know the metrics. We're just a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's safe to say a lot.
I think at my last count we had somewhere between 30 and 35,000 in my area. Now, granted, my entire area could probably fit into a couple of blocks of you guys' city, but yeah, it is a growing industry in my area, and there are people like me, the younger guys. Well, I'm 41 as of yesterday. It was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
But of course, when this airs, that's you'll be almost 42.
Yes, yeah. So we are growing, and there's a lot of the older guys that are in their 80s, in their 70s. I talked to one guy last week, and I'll be meeting with him this coming week to see about buying his retail store out, because he's ready. He's 70, 75. He's ready, and I think that we need more of that, a consolidation of our business to not only grow our brands, but also to give us more buying power, so that when a customer comes in, they see a product that's like 40 some odd dollars, and then they go to another place and they see the same product for like half of that, and they're like, why are you ripping me off? I'm like, I'm not ripping you off. I'm buying the product for 10 cents above what you just told me it was. So, we have a large overhead with the retail space, and we do a good business, but the margins are not what they were. And
the internet's definitely, for guys like you, I think customers, we notice it too, but I think customers seem to not realize what you get by buying it at a store locally. One, just because you're supporting your local area, but more importantly, you're actually buying it from somebody that understands the product, can get warranty, can get service, can program it. As pools get more and more complicated, and there's automation systems and variable speed pumps, the internet has kind of ruined the ability to make a decent living by selling the product itself. And so it's really something the customers have to understand, that they're buying Aquanut as well as getting a pump, and then they have a go-to when they buy something off the internet. Obviously, their warranties are usually really small, right? Like it goes to like 30 days. Yeah, it goes to 30 days versus if you were to buy it from a pump from us or you, a lot of these manufacturers let us warranty them for 3 years.
Right.
And so that's a huge difference. And then just having, if you've ordered it on the internet and you have a problem with it, I doubt you're going to get a tech guy to come talk to you. And some of the big manufacturers have kind of quit the internet per se, because what they had to do by selling more on the internet is increase their call center sizes to manage all these uneducated buyers, how to use their products and how to fix their products. And so it was costing them a lot of money to do that. And they also knew that most of their important buyers, their customers, were losing the ability to make money selling their products and servicing their products. And so it's a weird thing. I feel like the world though is starting to recognize they need to keep buying local. You know what I mean? As far as Amazon and all these other companies have made it so easy to push a button and get something to show up. Surprisingly, like the Ace Hardwares are surviving. over the big box and over the internet. And I think people are starting to figure out again, it's nice to be able to walk in a store, ask a question, think you know what you want, but have someone that's got more expertise saying, you know what I recommend is this. You don't need that pump because your pool doesn't have the size needs or the circulation needs, or this is actually a better pump, will cost you less money based on your needs. And I don't think most people don't, or a lot of people still don't recognize there's a benefit to that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I would say too is it's a lot about relationship, and you can't put a price on relationship. In a retail environment, you have overhead in that. But I got to tell you, even for myself, if I'm going on Amazon or some of the other places, I even get confused. And this is what I do full time. I build pools full time, and every once in a while I'll kind of price check something, and I'll go up on Amazon and search pump X. There's 17 variations of it, and I'm looking through going, there's 3 on here. I don't even know which are the right ones. So it's not, even for somebody like me to try and go on an online retailer is really hard. And oftentimes you'll see, Rick alluded to it, you'll get called in, hey, we bought this pump online, and it's like, wow, you just spent $1,100 on a pump that I could have sold you a different pump for $850. I could have made my margin. I could have given you a better product that's more appropriate for your pool, saved you money, and I made money. So that's I hope you're right that the mom and pops and the small retail chains will come back, because pools are not the easiest thing in the world.
Well, I think important to equipment too is what we do some expert witness work. We go and see pools all the time built by others, and our industry, the pool construction industry, has never actually done a very good job of policing itself and educating itself. We're big proponents of education because we're involved in multiple groups, but my point to that is it's not necessarily correct to take the pump that just died and replace it for the same pump, because I will tell you that probably 98% of the pools I have visited in my career, the pumps don't match the plumbing or hydraulics or the pool needs. It's just that was that pool builder's typical go-to, and they put this pump, this filter, this heater, and whatever else might be going on. So the reality is it might not be even the right pump in the first place. So to hire a professional or get a professional involved to help you pick and specify the right pump, I mean, Jandy, Pentair, Hayward, those are the big 3. There's got to be, on the residential pump market, between those 3, there's probably 100 pumps, right? And they all have specific purposes. When you upgrade it, when you change a pump on swimming pools now, there's multiple markets that require it to become variable speed if it wasn't before. If you do that and you only had a 2 horsepower pump and you go buy a 3 horsepower pump, the wiring is probably not the right size, the breaker's not correct. It's not, homeowners get the idea that, well, I'm going to save myself some money, I'll go online and I'll buy this pump for $1 over my local cost, or under what I can buy it at a retail store, and I'll just replace that pump. And online said it's the best pump in the world, and I've read all about it, but it doesn't support your pool needs. And so And it won't be more efficient if the plumbing's too small and you don't understand how to program it. Especially with variable speed pumps, the reason they're efficient is because of how you can program it, not because of the pump, right? It's how it's designed and how it's actually programmed to run. That makes all the difference in the world. And I think that's the part of information that your kind of podcast and what we're doing too needs to get to the public. They need to understand that what's in the backyard, even though it was put in by a professional pool builder, is probably not hydraulically correct. It very likely causes some safety issues with velocity being too high in the pipes and the drains. And if you just change the pump, you might have created a worse life safety condition and/or damage equipment on the other end of the pump because it's going to be too powerful, or vice versa. So it's not as simple as like, oh, I have a X, Y, and Z, I'll just replace it. New codes and safety requirements have changed since your pool was built if your pump's dying, and it's not as simple as just swapping the same thing out.
I run into that in my market all the time, where builders they'll say, I've been building pools for 35 years and I've been doing it this way in a single speed pump, 1 horsepower sand filter. That's all that you need. And that's pretty much what I get. And I'm like, no, we have learned through the course of the last 20 or 30 years what is a better option. There's better options, and it isn't just that one horsepower pump. And it's gotten to the point, is you guys know, and what we're getting out there more and more, that the government has actually had to step in, because this is such a big deal. And I think it's July 2021 that it's going to be mandated nationwide that we will no longer be able to sell single speed pumps. It has to be a high energy efficient pump, because this isn't the 1970s where you can just put a single speed pump, 1.5-inch plumbing, and just put a switch on it and run it full blast. And I have a lot of those in my area, and I'm educating my customers. Now what you guys is on you're on a totally different level. You're actually doing the math, which more people should be doing, and not to get in, over anybody's head, but what should a homeowner look for as far as finding a builder that is going to understand some of these new things: water flow, what size pump, what kind of filter, what the pool needs versus what he's been doing or she has been doing for the last 35 years?
I think part of it, the internet is a wonderful thing, and you're one click away from understanding everything. And the one thing that we run into a little bit on the construction side is the homeowner that has done some research on the internet and feels like they have become a professional. So that would be the one thing that I would say to potential clients, is that there are professionals that we do this full time. And so don't necessarily, we encourage people, do your internet homework, do your, learn what you need, but allow the experts to share their opinion with you. And then also, if you have a strong opinion, share that with your professional. But the other thing I would say too is, as you're looking into the construction side of things, a lot of municipalities around the country don't require licensing, so you should really start exploring some of the things like licensing. And even if the building department doesn't require it, you should probably inquire with your contractor, are you licensed? The amount of time, you alluded to it right there, very many contractors have been in this 20-30 years, but they're still building pools the same way they were built in the late 80s. Because they learned from their grandfather, who was building in the 50s, and the industry has changed dramatically. And so there are a lot of very good options around. On the pool construction side, we advocate that every pool gets engineered. So many municipalities throughout the country do not require it. But that doesn't mean that you can't ask for it. And there are options available for engineering that are rather inexpensive. So some of those kind of questions, and I would really kind of dive into, with your pool contractor, ask them, are they coming? So we're recording this from the International Pool Show in New Orleans, an annual show. Is your potential builder coming to events like this to enrich themselves, to continue to learn? There's a lot of things that if you're not coming to these shows, you're not learning the newest, latest generation things. And that doesn't mean that what I saw on the show floor yesterday and today I'm going to be implementing immediately, but I'm at least aware of it and know what's up and coming, and is starting to look into where it's appropriate to integrate that new technology.
The one thing to remember is that in the world of construction, our experience has been, I'm a general contractor as well. We do commercial construction, residential construction, and swimming pool construction. So I feel like I'm a little bit of authority to talk through the ranges of professionalism. And for us, the pool industry is kind of the bottom dweller of education and professionalism, and it seems to be a pretty easy thing to start a business into and stay into pretty well. And the problem in our industry is very little policing, even though like some jurisdictions, he says, don't require it. Worse than that is they actually require it, they don't enforce it. If they've adopted some of the international building codes as a municipality, a lot of these things are required and they're not enforced, and so they just, even though they're supposed to be getting done, the municipality doesn't seem to pay attention to swimming pools. They let a swimming pool that has electrical, plumbing, mechanical, gas, structural engineering, all these things happen with a postage stamp piece of paper that says swimming pool and equipment, and yet if you were to do a ramada in your backyard with 1 or 2 can lights in it, you might have to get an electrical engineer involved and give him a 1-line drawing. Yet we might have 3 horsepower and 6 horsepower and automation systems involved, and they overlook it. And the other thing is that if a client is getting ready to build a swimming pool, if they would spend 30 minutes on the internet learning about current things going on in the swimming pool world, I guarantee you they know more than most of the sales guys that come into their house to sell them a pool. Because our industry also does a poor job of getting an education. There's a lot to be said about having 20 years or 30 years, or I'm a 3rd generation pool builder, because that experience is critically important. But you have to package that with education in order to be the best at what you do. And the pool world has been allowed to get away with a lot of things for way too many years, and homeowners get sold down the road or get bought into the fact that this guy's done this for 20 years, so he knows what he's doing. It doesn't mean he can't build you a pool. But to this day, we end up getting, especially like on our online forums and stuff, we get into arguments and with other pool builders who want to still argue variable speed pumps don't work or don't make sense. And that's not only not correct, it's absolutely false, and it just shows how ignorant they are about the current. And this is variable speed pumps, we've been running those pumps for 10-12 years at this point. The reason the governments are starting to enforce them is because a swimming pool is the 2nd largest consumer of electricity on any single family residence. Your air conditioning / heating is what usually eats up the first part, but a swimming pool pump that's 2 horsepower running 8 to 10 hours a day is the 2nd largest user, and sometimes, depending on the weather, way worse than your air conditioning is. So it's a massive savings to put in variable speed pumps and automate them differently so that we can save a lot of energy. And that's why it's being forced, is because places like Southern California, they don't have enough power to supply the city in the first place. So they have all kinds of capacity issues, and by changing out every pool pump to a variable speed pump, they will save on a swimming pool. Of all the pools in the world, and there's hundreds of thousands of pools in Southern California, if we get all those pumps changed, we'll save 30 to 50% across the board on energy use, and so it's a huge factor. I don't want to get stuck in pumps, but when the client's looking for a pool builder, if they'll spend a little bit of time online, they'll have a better education than most guys come to their house. And I think for me, the first thing I tell them to ask their pool builder, if the first thing he tells you is I got 40 years of experience, ask him how many specific classes or education to the swimming pool world has he ever taken.
Yeah. Because
the answer is almost always, well, there is no such thing. We absolutely know there is. I've been here for 4 days teaching classes and seminars the entire time. There is excellent opportunities for education. The amount of knowledge you gain, you can take any 30, 40, 50-year veteran of the swimming pool world and put them in one of our 3-day courses that we would put on, and they walk out of there with their jaw on the floor and recognize that there's so many things they should have learned 30 years ago. But that is industry-wide. When we talk about how many pool builders there are, so few of them even know that there's an opportunity for education. Just like you in the service industry, you have a CPO. So guys are servicing pools 24/7. They've never spent the 2 days, right? 2 days it takes to get your CPO license. If you're going to service swimming pools, especially commercially or residentially, and you're dealing with literally life safety concerns, we do have E. coli. We got life concerns of swimming pool water environments and water quality, and most guys know very little about that. They know if they drop a test strip in and the pH is high, they pour some acid in. I mean that, and they think they're done, right? They don't recognize how many other things are happening, and they don't even understand total alkalinity. They don't understand TDS. They don't understand the saturation indexes. They haven't taken any of the classes, yet this is all they do. They scientifically measure water every day, yet they've taken no class to learn how to do what they're doing. They have a pole and a pickup truck, and then they want to compete against somebody like you who got an education, understands systems, and makes a better pool for their customers. So it's the same thing in the pool world. It's easy to separate the good from the bad. Find out how many of them have an education. You can, don't get caught up on price. Don't get caught up on how long they've been in business. If you can get a great referral from a friend, that helps, because you also can have some, problem. Construction's tough. It's not easy to do. It's not fun to have a, bunch of guys in your backyard for 3 to 6 months. Some of our projects take multiple years. So you really got to find a good company. But the biggest thing missing in our entire industry is properly educated pool builders that build quality pools.
Okay, so to kind of break down what you guys said on bullet points, education for both the potential buyer of a swimming pool, and to find a builder that is also getting that is going to classes, have both the buyer and the pool pro, or the builder in this case, understand what a variable speed pump is, why they want to spend a little bit more money up front, and then so they're going to save money on the back end, because it's going to be much more hydraulically efficient and going to save them money. It's not just something that we're trying to upsell you so that we get a couple of extra dollars. Number one, it's an energy thing, but it's also a safety thing.
Yes.
So I know that we're short on time, but let's touch on the safety aspect of it, and then we'll go right into, after you get done with the build, turning it over to a guy like me, and having the customer understand what's happening there.
Yeah, I'll say this. Litmus tests usually don't work, but within the pool industry, as a consumer, you can use the litmus test and ask your builder, what do you think about variable speed pumps? You will learn almost everything that you need to know by the way they answer that question. And you will learn if their pool builder X that has been 40 years and they do not want to do it. That's probably going to be one of the easiest questions that you can really understand who the builder you're sitting in front of is. And if they really push back against that technology and that, you may reconsider going with somebody like that.
Well, and you brought up, one of your questions too was the safety side of stuff. So what the biggest unsafe thing we find in swimming pools is hydraulically. Okay, so some of your consumers, and I'm sure you're aware of the Virginia Graham-Baker Act. The reason that act existed is not because pools were being built, or the requirements to build pools were wrong. It was because pools weren't being built to the requirements. The codes were already there. But what ends up happening with swimming pool drains, there's two problems. One is suction entrapment, right? And that's kind of what VGB was trying to avoid. But the second one is entanglement entrapment. So when that one is much highly tied to velocity inside our swimming pool pipes, right? So there's a surface velocity on the drain face, and then there's velocity inside the pipe itself, and then there's a requirement to have that pipe that's sucking not up against the drain. It has to have a certain distance away from the top of the drain for multiple reasons. But what happens is you already have, a typical pool builder builds it hydraulically wrong, meaning he's got too big of a pump, so the velocities are already above code requirements. Those code requirements exist for efficiency reasons and for safety, especially on the suction side. And then you end up with too big of a pump, or you replace it with even bigger pump potentially if you're doing a replacement side. Now your velocities are even faster. And when we get really high velocities in plumbing, our efficiencies drop off terribly. Like double the speed of the pump, or double velocity will cost you 4 times as much energy to move the water. So the inverse is true. Cut the speed down in half, you'll save 4 times on power. But if it's moving quickly, and a young lady in a spa has got long hair and gets too close to a drain, not only will it pull her hair through the drain, if it's moving quickly, it'll spin it up in there. And now she can't get out. Okay,
vortex
effect. Right, and that's why there's anti-vortex drains, and that's why there's requirements on velocities, because we don't want that to happen. And so that's the things that start happening, that pool builders without an education don't even register in their mind that they're responsible to create a safe swimming environment. And same thing with either a homeowner or an uneducated service guy coming in and just swapping a pump out. They often get involved in, this is the pump they're selling today, and partially because manufacturers too, they like to push product. And they have specific products they're trying to move. And so whether it's a variable speed pump or it's the new whiz-bang sanitation system, or, all the manufacturers do a great job of promoting specific products that they're really trying to move. And they get service guys and pool builders to put out product because it's getting extra points on a trip, or it gets them extra rebates, or it's what their salesperson's pushing. But they never break down what they're selling and selling it for the purpose of its needs. And so you end up with either product that's doesn't need to be on the pool anyway, or the wrong pumps and systems, and you create an unsafe environment, or you've spent more money just because you're going to get some extra points on if you keep selling this item. And so that's the part that the consumer needs to do a little bit of their own research on and understand and make sure they get that. And his litmus test is correct. Start asking them, what kind of sanitation systems do they use? If they have only one option, we put a salt system on every pool, it's the best thing in the world. There is no such thing as the right sanitation system for every pool. No different than the right pump, right? And those two things are pretty critical when you're building a pool. Some clients, like we have, are very concerned with chlorine or cyanuric acid, and they want to have as little as possible. Well, there's ways to manage that. Does your pool builder understand that, or does he not? Sorry, I'm just letting somebody through a door that's afraid to come in. So that's critical to us. And then I think your next question, and Dave will answer this after me a little bit too. So Dave came from the service industry, started building pools afterwards. I came from a construction industry, started building pools because I couldn't find good pool builders, but still did service as well. The critical thing for us is when we build a pool correctly, we can get it to a good service guy. Because
I want to stop you there and follow up on that, because what you just said is so important, but there is a level of knowledge there that a homeowner is not, or a potential pool buyer. Okay, so what you said is so critical, and I see it in the field because I'm coming behind builders.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I see it constantly where aesthetically the pool looks great.
Yep.
But then I get into the nitty gritty, the under the dirt stuff, and I'm like, what were they thinking?
Yep.
So I don't know if this is an easy question, but how can the homeowner kind of police that or get educated on that so that they know that what they're getting under the surface is going to be good quality plumbing, and it's going to be hydraulically safe for is there even a way to
it's actually
answer
simple, right? The simple question is, do they actually do hydraulic designs for their swimming pools?
Right.
The answer to that is 95% of the time, no. Literally. No, different markets are different. Florida requires you to do some of that. Some of the LA markets require us to do that. I live in the Phoenix market, do most of my work in the Phoenix market, one of the biggest in the country. I don't have a single municipality that cares if I do any hydraulic design whatsoever to get a swimming pool permit. Not at all. Now, is there some buzzword like a VGB drain? That has to be on the plan because it just has to be there. Do we need to use a variable speed pump? Yes, that has to be. Other than that, they don't even care. They don't know, they don't have the knowledge, and they don't enforce it at all. And so that's the part but that doesn't mean the builder's not responsible, okay? The codes are in place, and especially our municipalities, we follow the international building codes in most of the cities we're in. The International Swimming Pool and Spa Code and the International Building Code have all those requirements built in because they refer to those codes, and then they also refer back to the ACI codes, the ASA codes, and the APSP codes for velocities and all. So all that information is 100% required by the builder, but not enforced. So therefore most builders, oh no, we're not required to do that. No, you absolutely are. You're just not being forced to do it. So the easy answer, or the easy thing for a client to do, is just say, do you provide hydraulic designs when you build every one of your pools? Can I see a copy of those? So if you have a sales guy coming to your house, what you want him to do is, don't bring me pretty pictures. I want to see an actual plan set that you would use to build a swimming pool similar to what you think I'm going to want. We'll talk about what my aesthetics should be, but I want to see what documentation is going to be provided to the guys in the field that are going to build my swimming pool. If it doesn't include structural engineering, I think it's a fail. If it doesn't include hydraulic engineering, I think it's a fail. I will tell you that that's not easy to find. right? Some markets, structural engineering is pretty standard. Hydraulic engineering is harder to find depending on what market you're in. And those two things are critical to getting a good swimming pool.
And I think I agree with that totally. I'm not thinking that you're recommending that they go out and have an engineered stamp of hydraulic engineering for a $30,000 pool. But if you ask your builder, have they put some thought into it? Why are they using 1.5 inch plumbing rather than 2 or 2.5 or 3 inch in some instances? Just a little bit of research on your part as you're interviewing the potential builders. The biggest thing that I think that homeowners get trapped into is they only look at the pretty pictures. And, a month after a pool is filled, they look beautiful. And as builders, oftentimes we don't get to go back and see the pool 3 years later. So that would be one thing that I would recommend as you kind of fine tune it and whittle it down, and you got, okay, there's these 2 or 3 people. Ask them to take you to some jobs. Ask them to take you to a job that's 5 years old,
Right.
not a job that was finished 5 weeks ago. That'll be able to tell you a number of things. It'll be able to let you know, did they do a good enough job that they've been able to maintain a relationship with client X for 5 years? That's where the construction side falls down a lot. They burn bridges, they don't finish, they have a punch list that they don't ever come back to, they walk away from problems. So you can learn a lot there, and then when you're there, start looking around. Look at some of the detailing in the corners, some of the challenging areas. Make sure that there's not tiles already falling off the pool. But then also don't get just fixated on the prettiness of the pool and how it was executed in the backyard. Make sure you walk back to the equipment. You can walk into the equipment, and if plumbing is haphazard and it's real easy to see quality work and to not see quality work. None of us, well, Rick might have X-ray vision, Superman, but nobody can look under the ground. So even as a builder, it's hard to differentiate some of that. But you can tell a whole lot by the time you get back to the equipment pad. So when you're taking these tours, don't just look at what you're going to look at. Go back to the yard. Open the electrical panel and see, are there labels on things? Are there wires askew? All of that. You can't just get so fixated on the final finished product.
Okay.
Or the price. Those are the two things everybody fixates on: price and what it looks like. So.
Thank you for bringing that up. So I have 3 final questions, and we have 8 minutes.
Okay.
So
rapid fire.
Yeah. Rapid fire. So number 1, how important are online reviews for looking at a builder? Now, I know that you will never be able to please everybody, so there's going to be one or two that's just going to give you a bad review. No matter what you do, you will never make them happy. But
here's my take on online. First of all, most of the online reviews you're going to get, if you're going to get them, are bad. That's okay. But when you read the review, pay attention to the review and try to get yourself in the head of the person that wrote it, because a lot of times it's spite writing it. And you can see that maybe there wasn't that big of a problem, but most importantly, on almost all online systems, the person that got the review, meaning I'm pool builder A, Dave goes on and puts a bad review, it gives me the opportunity to respond. What does the response say?
Yeah.
Or did they respond at all? Because if they're not responding to online reviews at all, that tells me they're not worried about it at all, and they're not even paying attention to the fact that they're getting bad reviews, which means they're not doing a very good job at taking care of clients. You can tell sometimes there's a review like, okay, this guy's just crazy, right? He's just picky. And that doesn't change my perspective of who the builder is, but I've also seen online reviews and the response from the builder was unbelievably nasty, or picked on the client, or I try, so see how they respond to that, because this is a long-term relationship. You might talk to this person for the next 6 to 12 months to maybe 2 years. You got to make sure that you're going to respect them, they're going to respect you, and that's the first thing. I think online reviews are quasi-important. The ones that are all happy and go, we have a bunch of really great reviews on our site because we've asked some clients to do it, but realize, obviously, I didn't ask a client that wasn't super happy to write a review for me, right? But bad reviews can be taken out of context pretty quickly, so make sure it actually sounds like the guy wasn't an unrealistic customer, and the builder came back with a quality review, said, sorry, we didn't help you. I wish we could have made it better. We'll call you tomorrow. Like, are they going to help them still? Or if they've just said, we're done with you, that might tell you don't want to deal with that builder. So that was push button. What was the second one?
Second question. The pool has been filled up. You guys are finished. You're walking off the job site. What is your next step for the customer? What are you telling the customer after you guys have wrapped up the building process? Are you doing the National Plaster Council 30 day, or are you getting people to do that? Are you sending people to a retail store? What is your next step after your build is done?
Swimming pools they can be set up to be somewhat simple to take care of, but water chemistry is not simple. And water chemistry, you can really mess things up. And so
especially in the first 30.
Yeah, the first 30 days of a swimming pool's life are the most critical part of a swimming pool. And the longevity of your finishes and how that started up and all of that. So my recommendation, I've been preaching this for a while, is that a good quality builder takes responsibility for that first 30 days. The 100%. Good quality builder is not saying, hey, I need my last check when the hose goes in the water and walking off the job. That's another thing to ask your builders is, do you take it all the way through? Because what ends up happening is if you as a homeowner are tasked with the responsibility of making sure that you do the National Plasterers Council startup and you do it wrong or you don't document it and you mess something up, you forget and pour a whole gallon of acid in and you thought it was chlorine, something like that, you may have just ruined your plaster job, and the pool builder can come back and say, well, you did it incorrectly. Yeah, we can fix it. It's going to cost you another X $1,000. So
any quality pool builder should do the first 30 days to start it for multiple reasons. One, to make sure we get through that place, but more importantly for us, we keep tweaking stuff still. The real basic backyard pool, it's pool, pump filter and 5 returns, is not maybe as critical, but while we operate the pool for the first 30 to 60 days, we're still modifying and changing and doing a couple tweaks, and we usually have a chemical controller and a few other things going on, but we want to get through that because we might even change some plumbing. We've reconfigured plumbing once in a while. I'm like, you know what, this is going to work better if I change it this way because I want to be able to automate it differently. So for us, we operate for the first 30 to 60. That gives us a lot of interaction with the client while the pool's running now, and we can hear their issues and concerns. We can see our own concerns. We can solve them. If we turn a pool over to even the best pool operator ever, after we built it and we walk away and didn't actually work through the startup process, he's going to be cussing us the whole time because there's going to be things not working, valves not set correctly, and mistakes made, right? We make mistakes. We're not perfect. The only way we get through those is to properly, you wouldn't buy a car from GM and it wouldn't have been started, road tested, and ready to go, right? Pool's no different. We finished the pool, construction's complete, road test time. Turn it on, run the pumps, watch the chemicals, balance everything out. The client's not going to understand enough, shouldn't be required to understand enough to know how critical some of the chemical levels are, especially through the startup process and how easily they can screw something up. And they're often going to hear, oh yeah, Joe said whenever he started his pool up, he threw all this in first and that solved his problem. And there they are running down.
the next day.
Yeah, and then they went to a big box store and bought just some stuff off the shelf, didn't talk to a guy like you that says, whoa, how old's your pool? No, let's not do that yet. We don't want to throw those in the pool yet. Let me talk you through that. The need of a professional to handle a water chemistry and pool operation is pretty heavy in my world. It's not just a guy with a pole that doesn't have an education. It's water chemistry. There's a lot going on there. So for us, I think any quality builder should spend at least 30 days managing the pool before they hand it over so they can then properly train the client. And then or for us, we usually also help train the service professional because sometimes these pools are a little different or we've decided to do something different because of the client.
Minute and a half each. Where are you? How do people get in contact with you if they either A, want to ask you questions, or B, want you to build a pool for them?
So we touched on that a little bit. I'm based out of Southern California. My website is fdpool.com. We're on the internet. Of course we're on the internet. Instagram, Facebook, all the normal places. And then Ask the Masters. We've got a Facebook page and online forum. We're highly interactive on that. We answer a lot of questions to professionals at that place.
Yep. So yeah, and our Ask the Masters page is a more of a professional page. We're not necessarily using that page to answer homeowner type questions, but it would be a great place for a homeowner to troll around for a little while on the internet to learn what guys are talking about, what issues in the market. But my company is out of Metro Phoenix. We do a lot of design work across the country, but majority of our construction's out of Metro Phoenix area. My company website is buildredrock.com. You can reach anything from there once you've gotten to that site, or look for Rick Chafey on anything on Google. You'll find me popping up on either our Instagram page or LinkedIn, etc. We specialize kind of like him in higher end pool construction. Most of our projects are $200,000 to $300,000 starting point. We do projects all the way through the multi-million dollars. So, and Dave's very similar. I think he might not even get it as low as I do sometimes, but on price wise. But the key points are make sure you have good educated builders. I tell you, a homeowner on the internet for 30 minutes is more educated than the salesman that comes in their house that's been doing it for 20 years. So you'd be surprised.
Excellent. Guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment down in the comment section if you have a question for myself or either one of these guys. I'd be happy to answer it. Rick, David, thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. It
This
was awesome.
fun.